Magandang araw, Podmates. Howie Severino muli. Kausap ang isang bukod-tanging Pilipino. Siya ay isang atleta na masasabing kayang lumipad. At number 3 na siya sa mundo sa kanyang sport. It's a bird, it's a plane, he's almost Superman. EJ Obiena, ang pambato ng Pilipinas sa pole vault sa susunod na Olympics. Magandang araw sa iyo, EJ, at congratulations sa mga panalo mo.
Gandang araw po. Good morning po, sir.
EJ, welcome home din, ano? Nasa Pilipinas ka ngayon. Alam nating matagal kang nawala sa bansa. 3 taon, no? You've been busy overseas training, winning, and rising in the rankings, no? Nag-third place ka sa pole vault sa World Track and Field Championships noong July. Medyo exotic pa sa maraming kababayan natin ng iyong sport, no? So first, help us understand the pole vault. Sabi ko kanina, kaya mong lumipad, no? You have said that the pole vault event is a combination of running and gymnastics, no?
Yes po.
Yung running, obvious, pero why gymnastics?
I mean, everything after the takeoff is really gymnastics. That awareness in the air, the way we swing, it is truly very similar to gymnastics. At least the basic part of it po.
And yun nga, no? That's why it's a very graceful sport din, ano? Sabi mo nga, there's a lot of running, and then you launch yourself with this long pole over another pole, and then pataasan, no?
Yes po.
Pataasan. What goes through your mind, no? When we watch you perform, no? There's that few tense seconds, no? Yung take off mo nga, and then you pick up speed, and then you launch yourself with your pole over the bar, no? Anong iniisip mo in those moments?
To be honest, don't touch the bar. Don't hit it. Ganun lang po talaga. I mean, in training, of course, there's a little bit more technical aspects. So nag-iisip po, ano yung kailangan namin gawin? Which kind of movements do we focus on? Pagdating po sa laro, if there's no adjustments that my coach gives me, I just need to make sure I don't touch the bar. To the point where I'm at now, I'm more aware of the way I move. It's like second nature. I know how a good jump feels, and I know how a bad jump feels. But then it doesn't matter if you had a bad jump. The moment you had a bad jump, you still need to make that bar. So, magaling tayo dyan mga Pilipino. Gagawa ng paraan. So, yeah, that's most of the time, that's how I feel. Like, okay, there's something off on that run. There's something off on that takeoff. But one way or another, I need to make that bar.
Tinanong ko rin si Heidelin Diaz sa interview namin, no? Sa conversation namin, yung gold medalist natin sa weightlifting sa Olympics. Sabi niya sa akin, one thing that she learned was repeat to herself a mantra. May mantra siya na kung mapapansin mo, I'm sure you've also watched her, no, perform. Meron siyang sinasabi, ano, sa sarili, and I asked her what it was. And sabi niya, paulit-ulit lang niyang sinasabi sa sarili niya yung one motion, one motion, one motion. And tinuro raw sa kanya yon ng kanyang sports psychologist to help block out all the distractions, no? Kasi I can imagine you're in a similar situation. Of course, your sport is very different, but especially at a high level tournament or with a big crowd, no, ang dami rin sigurong sumisigaw and distractions, etc. No, but yun nga, no, you have how are you able to focus, no, and block everything else out so you perform at your best?
I mean, there's this like in basketball, say you're in the zone. I think there's something very similar to mine. I know when I'm focused, I feel everything slow and quiet. These stadiums are packed, thousands of people, and I don't hear them. I swear, like I don't hear them. And when I know I'm in that zone, I'm as sharp as I can be. And there's nothing that I say, but I do have this thing that I keep or I draw from. I've done the work. I deserve to be here. It's time to do it. It's time to show it to the world. That's my approach into it. That's where I take my confidence going into competition. That's how I feel, okay, I'm ready to go toe to toe with the best in the world, because I know I've done the work, I've presented myself, in this stage, and it's time to conquer it. And in a way, something like that po.
Okay, EJ, you are 6'2", ano? Tama ba?
Yes po.
Your height. Oh, you have height for a Filipino, no? So, maraming choices na sport for a tall Filipino, as someone of your height, no? Bakit pole vault?
Well, my dad was a pole vaulter po back in the day, so it's very, how do you say, it's quite straightforward for me or it's easier for me po to be a pole vaulter po. And in 2017, it showed me how important it is. I think that's the moment at least in my career, that I said, okay, pole vaulting is mine. Like before, I was doing it, because it's the sport of my dad. 2017, it shifted, like, okay, I love this sport. This is something that I wouldn't do. This comes from me. This is now my decision. This is all on me. That's how I felt. But why not basketball? Why not other sport? To be honest, I'm not a very good basketball player. I did try it. I really just love pole vaulting, and I saw pole vaulting back in high school as a way for me to get a scholarship in the big colleges. So it's a pretty strategic, but also I think there's a way that things just fall into place.
Alam ko, sumubok ka rin sa hurdles, no?
Yes po.
110-meter hurdles, no? And you were quite successful there, but of course, you were much more successful in the pole vault. Nabanggit mo yung father mo. He was not only a pole vault competitor, naging coach siya, and he's a well-known, maybe the leading pole vault coach in the Philippines today,
Know my name, and they expect something from me, and that felt icky from time to time. But at the same time, I think I felt the pressure, but I felt like my dad felt it a little bit more. I don't know if that makes sense. Now that he's transitioning from an athlete to a coach, for me at the time, I really saw it as a ticket for a better future. It wasn't, it doesn't matter if I jump how high he was jumping. I think it was more a way for me for a better life at that time, at least at a certain time. And yeah, I mean, I started very young, and I wasn't good. I joined the district meet, the Manila meet. I even lost. I think I got third or fourth place, something like. I didn't go to the next, which is the district meet, which is the NCR meet. I never won palarong pambansa. So there are these moments, of course, that definitely hurt. That definitely felt like hell during that time. But at the same time, I just wanted to keep pushing to the point that these universities will have interest to give me a full scholarship and be able to study in these big prestigious schools.
So interesting, no? Na sabi mo nga na hindi ka masyadong successful doon sa palarong pambansa, which is usually where national athletes and eventually world-class athletes are often first discovered, no? So kumbaga, late bloomer ka, EJ, no? And I know you doubted yourself early in your career. You were disappointed, no, that you didn't even make the World Junior Championships like many of your peers today, But now, no, you're number 3 in the world, no? You're number 3 in the world now, no? You've overtaken many of your peers, no? And but in the Tokyo Olympics, you didn't even make the finals, no? And so going from that to just last July, number 3 ka na sa mundo, no? What has been the key to your big improvement?
I think first of all, I started in Philippines. My dad's knowledge in the event is very limited. He was able to do the best that he can with the resources we have, with the knowledge that we have. And in 2014, that door really opened a lot of things for me. Being able to train with a world-class coach. But that doesn't, training with a coach doesn't exactly reflect the things that he wants in a span of 3 months, 1 year, 2 years. My coach said he needs 5 years to be able to actually reflect the things that he wants, and I think that's one of the biggest thing. It took a lot of patience for me to adapt to the new system of training, the new technique that my coach is trying to do, and I think now it's just paying off.
EJ, this coach that you've been mentioning, ito si Vitaly Petrov, no?
Yes.
Siya yung yun, ipakilala din natin sa audience because he's probably the most famous pole vault coach in the world, maybe history, he's a Ukrainian pole vaulting legend, in coaching, and he coached some of the best pole vaulters in history. Kasama na yung idol mo, si
Bubka.
Sergey
Yes.
Bubka. So you're quite lucky na siya yung naging coach mo, and so I guess tama rin na you're crediting him as being one of the keys to your becoming number 3 in the world.
As much as I work hard, he worked hard about that. He was with me day in, day out. It wasn't a secret that he invested his time as much as I did in those 5-6 years that we've worked. And I think that's really is truly the biggest thing that gave me an edge, moving forward. Being able to train with a world-class coach, being able to follow the regimen and the changes that he needs. And feeling stupid from time to time because this is what I know, and I thought it was good, and then going there the first 3 months I was there, I was not vaulting for a month and a half. All I was studying was the first freaking step of the jump, and I'm like, what is this? Like enduring all of that, and my coach, having the patience to actually deal with that with an 18-year-old kid, not like not a beginner, an 18-year-old kid during that time is truly incredible, and I believe that is the edge that we have.
But speaking of patience, sabi mo nga he had a 5-year plan for you, so talagang long range ang nakita niyang future mo, so what gave him the idea na pwede kang pagtiyagaan for 5 years? I mean, this is a world-class coach. He must have seen potential in you, but yun nga, at 18 years old, you weren't exactly among the best in the world yet, pero may nakita siya na maaring, maging one of the best in the world ka. So what was he telling you back when you were 18? Bakit may 5-year plan siya para sa'yo?
I don't know. That's still a mystery. That's still a mystery to me. I don't know what he saw. During the time, the first few years I was with him, he didn't say. It was more like a yearly plan. Okay, this year you should jump this height, and then the next year, you should jump this height. And so far, we've been hitting that. And I mean, I don't really know what. Maybe I'll ask him when I see him again. So next time I'll know the answer.
Balikan ko lang yung World Championships, kasi this is really where you've made your mark, kasi tininan ko yung results, halos patas lang kayo ng number 2 na si Christopher Nielsen ng US, dahil pareho yung best jumps nyo na 5.94 meters, pero siya yung naging number 2. Explain to us yung process ng rankings dito sa World Championships. Is it because he had more successful jumps kahit pareho yung best ninyo?
Not exactly. There's a thing we call count back. So in pole vault, the less attempts you have in a certain height counts, So there's 3 attempts in every height. If you jump it on your first attempt, and then the next guy jumped it on the second, you're gonna be ranked first than him, even if you jump the same height. So that's what happened. I cleared 94 on the second attempt. Chris made it on the first. And that's the difference between silver and bronze.
And that was very close, And that was very close. So, in a way, that's kasi the best athletes, there was not a world-class pole vaulter that was not there, di ba? Because of injury or whatever.
Yeah.
The best talaga in your event were all there. So talagang ikaw ang number 3 without any asterisk,
Yes.
So kung tuloy-tuloy lang itong progress mo, magiging medalist ka sa susunod Olympics. I mean, is that's a fair
I
bet,
mean,
right?
that's the plan. I truly believe in 2020 Olympics, I was one of those as well. Of course, anything can happen on the day.
Yes.
Could exactly like you said, you could win or you could lose. It's a sport. It's a
Mm.
part of life. But that's the plan, and that's what I'm working for. That's why I'm giving all that I can to reach that dream and hopefully bring that medal back home.
Okay, yung world number one, yung nanalo sa Eugene, Oregon, no, dun sa World Track and Field Championship, si Armand Duplantis ng Sweden, no. Malayo sa inyo, no, sa inyo ni Chris Nielsen, no, kasi his best jump was 6.21 meters, and he's the world record holder by far, no, and he's just 22 years old, no, you're 26, no. What do you think are your chances of beating him in the future? No, I suppose he'll be one of your main rivals for the rest of your career.
Looking at the stats, it's slim. It's very slim. I mean, this guy is considered already at the age of 22 the best in the world. As you said, he cleared the world record in Eugene with 6:21. So, in the history of the sport, nobody has done that. And he has cleared that at the age of 22. But then again, this year I beat him. And it is a matter of, I said, on that day, how am I going to be on that day? How is he going to be on that day? And, when it comes to those games, I think it really matters who wants it most and who's the hungriest coming that day in the final of Olympics. That's the guy who's going to win. It's not the guy who has the highest record right away. Of course, he's the favorite. He's the bet, I'll put my money on him. But come that day, I want to be ending on top. And I'm going to be doing everything that I can to reach that gap. And I have 3 more seasons to improve and to be more consistent, to be more dominant in the sport. And which I hope, close that gap a little bit more, put the pressure, though he's a good friend of mine. Be competitive as I can come that day.
Well, tama ka, no? It depends on the day of the competition kasi even world champions lose, no? So, but nabanggit mo, you have beaten him in the past.
Yes po.
Kailan yun?
In Brussels, just this year.
Mhm. Okay. And then with a jump, I mean, what were your jumps?
I jumped 591.
I suppose he jumped slightly less than that. You nag-jump kind of.
Yeah.
You jumped 591, which is slightly less than your personal best, and I suppose he jumped slightly less, which was much less than his personal best.
I don't know what happened that day. He just wasn't feeling it. He jumped 581. And yeah, as I said, on the day itself, especially in pole vault, there's a lot of things that can go wrong, and there's a lot of things that place, the variable of wind, the track, even your equipment. It really does matter a lot in those competitions.
That must have given you a lot of confidence, no? Beating the best in the world, the world record holder, no? On that one day.
I wouldn't say that. I mean, I always felt I can compete with these guys. I have felt that, and I know that Mondo is a it's a generational talent. It's a tough guy to beat, but I also know that the sport of pole vaulting is very tricky. It's actually quite difficult to do a season undefeated. Great as Mondo is, he haven't done that. It just shows how pole vaulting is so variable into those things, and that's why I always work on consistency. I think that's our biggest task at hand, to be consistent all throughout the competitions.
You train overseas, no? You've been training overseas for several years now sa Italy, no? Anong meron sa Italy na wala sa atin?
Walang Vitaly Petrov sa Manila. That pretty much it. And the difference in Italy is there's really nothing in the place I train at. It's a small town down south of Italy with very minimal population, with very good food, fresh foods, sources of all of these raw materials are good. It's very quiet. There's ano po siya eh, I think the best way to say, para siyang retirement place. Marami po talagang like people are settling down there. It's because it's a very good place to be, but there's really nothing much happening there. Other than there's a world class training center and Vitaly is there.
Your coach, no? Your longtime coach.
Yes.
So that's the reason kasi nandun yung coach mo, and you sabi mo he was the key to your big improvement over the years, no? In 2017, nabanggit mo, no? That's when you really decided to be serious about pole vault. But that was also the year you suffered a serious injury, no?
Yeah.
You tore your ACL, no? Which is a serious sports. It's a common sports injury, but it often ends careers, no? Or changes careers for the worse, no? Many athletes would have given up, no? But you continued. Not only did you continue, parang you said you renewed your commitment to your sport, no? What motivated you then, no? At the time when you might have been discouraged. What gave you hope that you could regain your form after such a serious injury?
I don't think there was that hope that I could regain my form. There wasn't that security. I was down, definitely doubted myself multiple times and wanted to quit multiple times. And it didn't make sense for a lot of people, but you know what they say, when something's taken away from you, you either understand that okay, that thing is not important, or oh, this is something that I can't live without. And it was the latter for me. I knew then and then, like I felt that urge that if I don't put my heart out for this, if I don't try, I'll regret it when I'm 50, when I cannot do this anymore. I might be a grumpy old man growing up. So I was like, no, I need to take this leap of faith, and I need to put everything that I can into my craft. And it was a hard conversation with my parents because I said, prior to 2017, I've only went to Formia every 3 months, 3 or 4 months in a year. And that's it. That's how I train with Vitaly. And I said I wanted to take a leave of absence and find a way to still do my studies, but go to Italy as much as I can. And yeah, it was a tough conversation to a lot of people. And I think a lot of people didn't believe in me. A lot of people doubted me. I mean, even I doubted myself. And I think this is where, I knew that I needed to follow this passion of mine. If I don't make it, at least I can sleep at night knowing I gave it my best. It is just wasn't for me. And I had a deadline for myself. I said in 2020, if I don't qualify, I'll call it, I'll call it, I'm done with pole vaulting. It's time for me to walk away. It, as you said, ACL surgeries and this and that, oftentimes not does end career. And I did see that. I need to face that fact. It's a reality of life. And yeah, but I needed to know if I can or I cannot. And yeah, that's why I took that leap and literally push through it and find a way to make it work.
Well, obviously, it's paid off, and many people are happy that you took that leap, no? Tumaya ka and na-vindicate, no? Na-vindicate, and yung mga doubters siguro tahimik na ngayon, no? But all of this training, no, after that serious injury, all of that caused you to worry about funding your athletic career, no? Tell us what kind of support you've been getting. Kasi yung sport mo is unlike other sports, especially team sports na may professional leagues. There's a steady income. Companies pay for doctors, etc. But yung ikaw, you're an individual competitor. No, what kind of support do you need for this kind of career?
I mean, the thing with the sport is, yeah, as I said, it's not fully professionalized. Let's put it that way. We do depend more on the government. We depend on sponsorships outside the sport. we find a way to make it work, minimize our costs as much as we can. Um, Pretty much it. It gets quite expensive. It gets quite expensive transporting 5 meter long poles on airlines is quite a challenging task. And it takes a lot of funding to do that. It takes a lot of money to do that. Traveling, having a physio, and just a series of competition that you need to do. And the problem with that, it's in Europe, the whole circuit and the whole pole vaulting world revolves around Europe, which is, as we all know, not the cheap place to live. Having my coach outside of the country, being based in Formia, Italy, it takes a toll. It definitely takes some financial support system that would be able to push me, or at least give me a chance to compete with these guys.
Well, in addition to your coaches in pole vaulting and in the sport itself, no, I understand on your team you have a sports psychologist, no?
Yes.
When I interviewed Heidelin Diaz, sabi niya napaka-importante sa kanya na discover niya na yung sports psychologist ay almost as important or maybe just as important as the other. Importante ang isang psychologist para sa team ng competitor katulad mo.
It's very, very important. First of all, it's not, I think a psychologist in general, it's not gonna click in everyone. So there's a certain psychologist that would click to a certain someone. It's like a relationship, not everybody's meant to be together. Parang ganun. My psychologist is actually a graduate of UP, and she went to John Hopkins in the US, and now she's based in San Francisco. But she's a Filipina, studied in UP. We clicked. For some reason, we just worked, and then these relationships really did prosper through tough and thin, the good and the bad. How important it is. I mean, I've never won a major championship before 2019. I started working with her in 2019. 3 months in, I won my first continental medal. So I would say psychologist is definitely important. Helps you see the bigger picture in most of the time. And for me, have that very blunt and clear things that I need to work on. EJ, you're panicking way too much. You're overthinking things. I believe that you should do this, try to do that. Physical movement should help you calm down, should help you do this. And how do we approach each competition? And then we do rate my competition. Okay, how did you feel about that competition? Did you feel good? And then if you felt good, how was the result? Was it good or was it bad? Okay, this and this and this. And she helped me understand myself better. And I think that's the biggest thing that the sports psychologist definitely helped me to understand myself and be able to channel my competitiveness in the right way, or in the most efficient way, at least.
Yeah, because your mental health is underappreciated, no, and not just in sports, but in general, in society in general. But you pointed out how important it is for you and your own athletic success. So it doesn't, having a psychologist doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. Kasi yun nga, minsan nasi-stigmatize pag may kausap ka na psychologist, parang siguro, may problema itong taong to. Very often, you just need to talk to someone to maintain, your mental wellness. No, it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you mentally, di ba?
True. Which is good, because my psychologist is also a clinical psychologist, not just a sports psychologist. So yeah, she understands. She always tells me, you need to be a good EJ Obiena as a person to be a good EJ Obiena as an athlete. And yeah, that's the balance that we try to do as well.
Well, that's a great message, no? Because after your athletic career, you're still going to be a person.
Yeah.
So, do you get any support from the government now?
I haven't received anything since January of this year. To put it
Yeah. Is it because you've declined, they didn't offer, anong yung
I
nangyayari doon?
think first there was an issue, and when that issue kind of blew up, I think some stuff were requested to be declined. Because my budget was supposed to be approved. It was already approved by Chairman Ramirez, and it was supposed to be ready until 2022, at least the end of this year. Yeah, then it kind of was canceled for some reason. Was requested to be. So at least that's what I've heard. And we're currently working on how to find a way, if it's possible, to have that retroactive, because I still did incur those expenses. I still paid for those, and I would really need that funding moving forward. And
Mhm.
I hope with the new, with the new administration, with Chairman Noli Ayala, with the help of Mayor Bambo Tolentino, the new president of Patapa, Mr. Terry Capistrano, I would really hope that we could make it work, because that would mean a lot, and I think that's gonna define how my my path going to Paris is gonna be, and how
The Paris Olympics.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's ironic that the government support stopped early this year, because this is the year that you've experienced your most success. This is the year you became number 3 in the world, and you beat the number 1 at one event, no, at one tournament, no. I know there was a long controversy with Patafa, no. They even once left you off the national team, no. Is all of that behind you now?
I wouldn't say all that is behind me. Of course, there's still gonna be people inside that would might not approve of me. But the biggest thing for me is the new president of Pataf, Mr. Capistrano, is a good friend. He seems to have a genuine care for me. He's the one who made sure that I have polls going into Tokyo. That's why I trust the guy.
That's pretty basic. No, I
Yeah,
mean, if you have to worry about whether or not you're going to have polls, wow, talagang yun ang doon ka magkakaroon ng mental health issues.
yeah, I was
Sa
pretty
sobrang
stressed.
stress. Oh.
Yeah, I didn't
Mm-mm.
know if I'm gonna have a poll going into the biggest tournament of my life 10 or 12 hours before my flight going to Tokyo. So it was a tough one. That's why Mr. Capistrano made things happen. He ordered polls in the US and made sure it was shipped in Tokyo. I'm able to use some kind of, some sort of equipment, at least in Tokyo Olympics. Yeah, and he's the new head of the federation. I do talk to him, and I think I directly communicate with Mr. Capistrano, and so far so good, and we have a lot of plans moving forward. So I think it should be positive.
Well, you've also said in a previous interview that outside of government, no, you've been getting generous support. Then, well, I don't know if it's been generous, but you've been supported by alumni of your
Yes, that's
schools, no, your universities. You went to UST, so parang people are pitching in, no, to help you out.
and I think that's very heartwarming. It is truly generous of them. This is not their responsibility. This is truly just out of their passion to help. And I think none of these actually I expected. The help of my alumni, especially my high school, Chiang Kai-shek College. I never thought that they would even reach out to me. What do you need? And I never thought that, not a single day in my life, because Chiang Kai-shek College is big in basketball and pretty much basketball. Um, but we never had. I mean, I never thought that the alumni of this school would actually be interested in supporting a non-basketball sport such as track and field, specifically pole vault. And that truly is amazing. Makes it a little bit more heartwarming, and to be honest, makes you feel appreciated. And I think that means a lot for me, and it means a lot moving forward. And just the moment I represent the country, I do know that the country loves me, and these people do deserve the best representation that they can get.
But have your frustrations with Philippine sports bureaucracy or Philippine politics or your lack of support, no, in the past, ever tempted you to change nationalities and compete for other countries? Because um, many world-class athletes, not just in the Philippines, have actually done that, as you know, no?
One of my motivation in sport is this is not something that we're known for. And some people do discount me and look at me like, what is this guy doing? Especially when I was young, people look at me like, what is this skinny Asian guy doing in this competition? And I do love that challenge. I enjoy that. I that fuels me. It really gets me going. And that's one of the things that motivates me. Number two, being a Filipino, there's some traits. I've seen it. I've trained with multiple nationals. I've worked with different nationalities. We have certain traits that not a lot, and I would say it's very beneficial in at least in the world of sports that I see, and I would want to keep that. And another thing, that's sport
Well,
bureaucracy.
excuse me,
That's
before we go on
never.
to the next topic, you mentioned traits, no? I mean, I'm interested to know what some of these traits are that you observed in, in your own environment, no? That gave you motivation to represent the Philippines, and I guess to stick with it, to stick to the country.
My way of dealing with things is like there's a lot of things that's going on, and my coach is gonna ask, how can you still train? How can you still jump? I'm like, I'm a Filipino. What I mean by that, um, I'm used to these kind of things. I'm used to enduring a little bit more. Then, I'm not saying that they're privileged. It's just that here in Philippines, we're used to commuting, like queuing and like, in LRT. I used to do that every single day, going to university, travel for an hour, all of those little things. And some of the people in Europe, they won't even, they wouldn't like to commute for an hour. I remember I used to wake up 4 in the morning just to be able to train. So, to skip the traffic in EDSA, be able to train and drive to my university later that day. All of that is something I think that trained myself to endure a little bit more, be able to deal with this stuff, let's just put it that way, a little bit better. And I think that's one of the biggest thing.
So it toughened you up, made you more resilient, no?
Exactly.
Mhm.
The sports politics in the Philippines is quite rough. And I think that's there's already a few examples, Wesley So, Yuka Saso, all of these guys that, now represents other countries.
Yeah, Wesley So, of course, is a world-class chess player, no? And now I think competes
Yeah,
for the United States.
exactly. If I at this caliber of my career suddenly say, okay, I'm moving away because I had issues in the sports governing body, that's me saying to the next generation, like, okay, when you have an issue, move away. Yeah, that's the best way to do it. Then what is going to be the future of Philippine sports? And second part to that is if every athlete just decides to move, that's indirectly letting all these politics win. And I don't think there's any space for politics in sports. So I hope that the stand that I took would reflect and help the athletes know that they are the center of sports. There is federations, there are sports officials, but without athletes, there's not gonna be any of these sports officials. There's not gonna be any of these sports institute because the center of sports are the athletes. And I hope that I'm able to show that this is how much power you have as an athlete. And I also hope that these reflects on in the future things that it won't happen again. And yeah, that's one of the biggest reason why I stayed. And tempted, of course. I mean, that's the easiest way out. But as I said, as Filipinos, we kind of tend to like the tough path.
Yeah. Well, I have to say that's very noble of you because you're thinking larger than yourself. Kasi, I'm sure maraming world-class athletes, they're so single-minded, no? Nagiging puro sila lang yung iniisip nila, no? But you're thinking about the future of your sport and future Filipino athletes like yourself and what they're going to think. And I think you recognize the kind of influence you have now over younger, not just younger athletes, but younger Filipinos, no? Tinitingalaan ka ngayon, eh, no? So, ang dami nag-iidolo sa ngayon. So, you sound like someone who's taken that as a serious responsibility, no? So, you're now in the Philippines. You arrived several weeks ago. How long will you be here, and what's on your agenda?
I'll be here for a few more days and flying back, starting to train
Days na lang.
again, getting back to work for Paris and the upcoming indoor season 2023.
You arrived in mid-September, but you didn't arrive in the Philippines alone, no? You came with your girlfriend, the German athlete also, no? The German triple jumper, si Caroline, sorry, I don't know how to pronounce her last name.
Joyu.
Is this her first time in the Philippines?
Yes, it is. It is.
Anong naging impression niya? What has she been sharing with you?
I mean, she's enjoyed it, definitely. She was expecting, all these good sceneries, this warm weather, the humidity of it. But I think both of us kind of overwhelmed the way I received the welcome and people now recognize me in the street. I think that's something that both of us and definitely her got overwhelmed about. And other than that, I mean, everything's been fantastic.
Well, many are happy for you and Carolyn, of course, no, kasi to be world class, I'm sure many athletes need to be so single-minded in their pursuit, no, of excellence that they leave out other aspects of life, like love lives, no. I guess it helps that she's in the same sport.
Exactly.
She understands the demands of a track and field athlete.
Yes, that's one of the perks.
And but her event, her main event, I know she also does the long jump, but she has said that her specialty really is the triple jump, no, and it's almost as exotic as the pole vault, no, for Filipinos, no. I think everyone knows how to jump, but triple jump, it's kind of it's a specialized kind of event, no. It's something that most people, I guess, it wouldn't come to most people naturally. Parang pole vault din yan in a way, no?
True. In a way. I think her event is a little bit more taxing to the joints and to the body. But at the end of the day, at least she doesn't travel with poles. So
yeah, no special equipment, no?
True.
So I have to ask you, no, about Hockett de los Santos. He got the silver medal. You got the gold medal at the last Southeast Asian Games. He is just 19 years old, no? He's still a university student. Would you say that Philippine pole vault is having a moment sa Pilipinas?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
He's been coached by your father, no? Anna has been coaching Hockett.
Yes, po. I mean, as I said before, that SEA Games in Vietnam just showed, the dominance of Filipino athletes in the event, specifically in pole vault. We could have won another gold in the women's. Unfortunately, as I said, sports is very variable come that day. But 1-2 finish has not been done in the past 30 or maybe even more years than before. And the kid literally just dropped the mic and said, "I'm here to stay." And the kid has guts. And I think he will be great. And I'm looking forward to what he can do. And I'm teasing him that he needs to break my UAAP records first. So yeah, he has some work to do, but I'm here to help as much as I can. And it's nice that, going to meets, it's not just gonna be me. There's gonna be two of us, and that's a breath of fresh air.
So he cleared 5 meters. I know that was a benchmark, no, for a young pole vaulter. No, he's already cleared 5 meters. I guess you've taken him under your wing. I mean, he's already under your father's wing, but you're kind of the one of the elders, I suppose, in your sport. I mean, athletes like yourself don't have long careers, no. So at 26, medyo ano ka na, no, veterano ka na, no, as opposed to this young. You call him a kid, no. He's 19. So in a way, may companion ka na. I suppose eventually he's gonna have wider horizons as well, no? Beyond Southeast
True.
Asia.
Unfortunately, kuya na tawag niya sa akin, so kinda odd, but yeah, I mean, I try to help him as much as I can. But yeah, his coach is my dad, so I leave all the coaching to my dad. I don't meddle with those. He needs some specialty shoes that I can help him with. Of course, that I can provide. Hopefully, opportunities outside of the Philippines, like competitions outside of the country that would help him sharpen. That's one of the things, and that's why I wanted to bring another competition coming into the Philippines, so he could experience competing with the best in the world. And I think that would open his eyes to a lot of different things, and I think that would help in the long run.
Well, I'm sure you've been a big inspiration to him, no? So congratulations to the two of you, you and Hocket. The pole vault future in the Philippines looks bright. Maraming salamat sa iyo, EJ, for giving many of us something to cheer about. Mahaba pa career mo, no? Kay kuya ka na ni Hocket, no? And we'll keep cheering for you. EJ Obiena, the very best pole vaulter the Philippines has produced and currently number 3 in the world. Mabuhay ka.
Thank you.
EJ Obiena.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much po.
Hi, I'm Howie Severino. Check out the Howie Severino Podcast, an original for GMA News and Public Affairs. New episodes will stream every Thursday. Listen for free on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and other platforms.